Hey everybody, good afternoon. Aaron Feenstra here from Countryside Acres and the Countryside Corner. We've got another interview for you today, and it is with an American that has moved to Russia as well. Mr. Taylor Jackson was kind enough to let us interview him and ask him a few questions on all things Russia. Why he's here, what he's doing here, how he likes it, how he feels. You'll have to check it out and see it. I hope you guys enjoy these interviews. We hope to continue to do them and show you guys more real stories from people who've been here. Obviously, we are new here, so people could say that we're naive and don't know what we're talking about, and that's arguably true. And therefore, we interview people who have been here for quite a while. 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, doesn't matter. They've been here for a while. They've seen stuff that's going on here. They know what this country's like, and they're still here. Why? So I like those interviews. I like to learn from them myself, but also to share them with you guys, so you get the real story of what's going on here. Not from Western sources that are corrupted, but from people who are actually here enjoying their life. I hope you guys enjoy that. I hope you guys will subscribe and share the videos, continue to get the story out there. Subscribe to both channels. The links are down in the description below the videos for both channels. Please subscribe and help make that a success and get that story out there. What else can I tell you? I think that's it. Get into the video. Good day everyone, and welcome to the Countryside Corner. Here we're all about faith, family, and freedom. Brought to you from no other than Mother Russia. What about yourself?
Well, what's there to tell? So, I was born in Canada, spent first half of my life there. I left Canada when I was 10 years old, moved with my father to the States, worked oil field and construction. Then I spent the next 10 or so years of my life moving around the States. I've lived everywhere from New Hampshire, New Jersey, New York, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida, Georgia, you name it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Been around a little bit.
Yeah.
Ever came back to Canada?
Twice. My
Yep.
sister and mother are still up there, so I have to occasionally make a trip to make sure I see them.
Yep.
Yep.
Very good.
Spent 5 years in the U.S. military, which, not much to say about that, honestly. I don't.
No, that's fine.
But if you have to do it, it's something you have to do.
It's a job, right?
It's a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
how'd you end up in Russia?
Ooh, that's a famous question. Every Russian I meet asks me that question: how and why. It's a lot of little things that came together at the same time. It wasn't any one particular thing. I'd done my bachelor's, and I didn't have really the credentials to go to veterinary school or something bigger that I wanted to do. And so I was looking at other options. I thought about going home to Canada, but oddly enough, applying for Canadian University as an American student is extremely difficult.
Okay.
More so when you're both, because they want you to apply as a Canadian, but your credentials are American, and that makes things impossible.
Because you would still have Canadian citizen, correct?
Yeah, still a Canadian.
Yep.
Would not give that up. The American one would go first.
But your school records are American. That's the issue.
Yeah, my secondary education, university, and my college are all American. So that stuff doesn't line up. So I started looking at going to school because it's cheaper and it was easier to get into in Russia. That was the first thing that I started looking at. Didn't do that immediately. I waited a while. I ended up working in the oil field like my dad, welding, and good money. So I really couldn't complain. Way too much work. Not a bad thing to have too much work, but
no.
When people, what'd you do for the past 3 years? I'm like, I worked. And what else did you do? I was like, oh, I worked. That was my life.
Yeah.
And I want to break from that. So I guess things, 2 Septembers ago now? Yeah, 2 years ago now. Kicked off in Europe. Not sure what to call that. I guess the special military operation, we'll call it that.
Yeah.
Was commencing, and I had plane tickets already to come here, and it was a very awkward and difficult choice do I still go to Russia given everything that's going on, or do I stay here and do what I'm doing? So I decided to come here, give it a try. I mean, what's the worst that could happen?
That's right. Yep.
And yeah, the rest is history. I've been here for almost 2 years now. Did not end up going to agricultural university. Did not end up in the city I wanted to necessarily be in. Teaching English now, which is not what I thought I'd be doing, but it's a job. It's fun.
Yeah, you enjoy that? No, that's all right. So I was just saying, so you're enjoying that, though, teaching English?
Yeah, no, it's a good job. I like it. I get to work with all age groups from smallest group, kindergarten, 5, 6.
You're actually in a school then? Sorry, I know a lot of people come and they teach English online. But you're in school teaching.
Yeah, I don't like teaching online. I do have some private students online, but I work in a couple private kindergartens. I go
Okay.
times a week. Then I have some adult private clients that I work with for different companies.
Yep.
But yeah, so
Okay.
not
Fair enough.
expected, but it's not bad, and it's sometimes fun.
Well, I mean, sometimes life throws you that you end up in some situation or some. Yeah, we don't always plan it, and sometimes it's good just to step out in faith and try something different. A lot of
Yeah.
people live life like in a box, right? And they can't do anything different. And it's like, well, I don't know, just try it. So I'm glad my wife and I have stepped out of the box quite a few times and just tried something. Yeah, you never know where life will take you. Then. So you said 2 years you've been here.
Almost. I'm working on year 2.
Okay, and how well would you say you were received?
With open arms. I've had zero problems with anyone, to include the federal security and immigration. They had questions, given the past that I was in the military for 5. Obviously they're going to ask
Yep,
me.
that's understandable. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I can say, if you don't immediately try to fight them, there's no problems. I'm
Right.
just like, okay, it's a normal. You want to ask questions? They ask questions. They sent me home.
Yep, I'm pretty well the same way. Open book, just answer what they want to know.
Yeah,
That reminds me, I've seen videos before on YouTube, right? So people get pulled over by the police back in the States or whatever, and they give a whole bunch of attitude to the policeman, and then they wonder why they find themselves face down on the ground with handcuffs on, right? If you would just answer the questions, yes sir, no sir, you'd have no problem, right?
Seriously,
But,
they want to go home too.
yeah, they're just doing their job. So, so family, you, I think we talked off camera. You came by yourself, right?
Yeah, I came by myself.
What about family back home? What did they think about your move?
Mom was not angry about it. She cried a little bit. It's like, why are you going there? And she's very, I don't know. She believes what the TV says about Russia. So she has
Right.
this perception, a very closed perception of what this country is like, what the people are like. And she thought I would immediately end up in jail or something. And now she's had this sort of reality check, and she doesn't know what to think or say, because she's like, well, everything my son tells me is the opposite of what everyone says.
Okay.
So,
And she trusts you enough to take your opinion for it.
yeah, she
Yep,
does.
that's good.
And my dad was perfectly fine with it. He made a funny joke: "Don't come back without a wife." That was basically what he had. Yeah.
Good. Well, at least they accepted that. Then I know that's a challenge for a lot of Westerners, especially right now. All the propaganda going on east and west. A lot of people face that. Right. People back
Yeah.
home think they're crazy. I know we had a lot of people like that too. And now through the comments in the YouTube, people are scrolling through that and they're blown away, as we are, by the hospitality of the Russian people. They just can't believe it. And so we're showing a different side, and that's our goal. Western media doesn't portray things accurately most of the time.
Yeah, I think the conversation I have a lot with students or other people here is they try to say that countries and people are the same thing, but a country and a person, it's two different things. People are not the country. Even if a country does something bad, the people, it's not them.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. There can be two different things.
Yeah. I mean, if
Coming from Canada, I know that's true because most of us don't agree with all that happens over there either. So,
yeah,
right.
I'm pretty
So,
sure.
was there anything? What's that? Sorry.
I was gonna say most Canadians definitely, I hope, don't agree with Trudeau. So,
I just read a stat this morning. There, my wife read it to me. He's got a 20% approval rating. So people are waking up finally. Right? Hopefully.
We'll see.
What were some things that shocked you the most coming from the West to here? I mean, obviously, life is a little bit different.
There's a lot of things that are different, not in bad ways, but biggest shocks: the amount of people that speak English. that freaked me out.
Mhm.
I chose a city based on who would not speak English because I wanted to force myself to learn Russian faster.
Yep.
I didn't do my research because Nizhny held the Olympics, Summer Olympics, a while ago. So everyone here learned English, everything, the signs. If you go to like the metro, as you know, it's mostly in English. I mean, even if you get on a marshrutka, like the tiny bus, the audio will play in English as well. So it's,
Okay. That's new
yeah,
to me. I haven't been on any of that stuff yet. So, yeah.
metro, the buses, it'll play once in Russian, then once in English. And it's like, okay.
Perfect. Yeah.
Like I said, lots of people speak English. You'll be surprised. Sometimes if their English is good and my Russian is terrible and I'm trying to ask for something, they'll be like, can I just speak in English? I'm like, you speak English? Okay. We'll just speak in English then.
Very handy.
So,
We found that the younger people know English pretty good, but then a lot of the older people have no idea, which probably is reflective of the school system, I would think. So,
yeah, there's a pretty huge emphasis on learning foreign languages in the schools here.
right. Hence the reason you're teaching English.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, no, that's interesting. And I think that's we found that in Georgia too. That we were in Tbilisi, Georgia, before coming here, and it was the same thing. It was the younger people that spoke enormous amount of English. Well, they would all tell you that they don't speak it very good, but then I mean, as they get talking, they have an accent, but they're pretty good in English. And same thing here. I'm finding more people among the younger ones that speak English.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that it's the accent that makes them think that they can't speak the language, but you
Mm-hmm.
understand.
Yep. Yep.
Try to think of any other culture shocks. I mean, how friendly the people are, but we've already said that. Like, I've had multiple situations where if a stranger had not helped me, I would be out of luck.
Right.
Yeah, and even when you don't understand Russian or can't speak Russian, if they know you need help with something, someone will try to help you. I mean, when I first went to Moscow, trying to come here. I got lost in the metro trying to go from the airport to the train station. Someone figured out that I was lost, that I couldn't speak English or couldn't speak Russian, and they couldn't speak English, but they spent a good 20 minutes figuring out where I needed to go and getting me there. So, I mean, I've never had that sort of happen in the States.
No, no, that's what I was gonna say too. I mean, it does happen. We're rural mostly, and you still gather around the coffee pot, so to speak, in the variety store or the hardware store or whatever. But yeah, by and large, I find people are in a hurry, and they don't have the time for individuals anymore. It's
Yeah.
more of a, I hate to call it selfish, but it's basically it is. We're all in it for ourselves, and everybody's got a huge mortgage and bills to pay, and you're just focused on getting that done, and you kind of ignore everybody else. Although we do say the little pleasantries, right? We run into people and say good morning and how are you, but we don't wait for the response. We're in a hurry. Just keep walking. So
Well, actually, that's funny that you mentioned that. That's considered weird here, the small pleasantries. Like, if I go to the store and I'm like, Dobry den, if I say anything like that, they look at me like, why are you saying good morning to me or good
right,
day? Yeah. And if you say thank you for anything, like if you're just checking out at a cashier and you're like, spasiba, it's weird.
right. They don't say anything. And which
No,
we almost find is almost rude, and they don't say something, right? So yeah, if you say good morning to someone and they don't respond back, like what's the matter with him? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a different culture for sure. Interesting. It's always interesting asking people what differences they faced, and maybe it depends too which part of Russia you go to. Obviously, we're in the same area. Maybe we run into similar things. Moscow, people there tell me like everything's English, so it's very simple integrating into Moscow. Apparently,
Oh, yeah. I would agree with that. It would be far
yeah, you've
easier.
probably been there. So. Yeah, we haven't. Other than we landed there, of course, and then we went straight here, so we didn't spend much time there. Your reason for moving? I think you kind of covered that a little bit.
Education, culture, somewhat religion, society at large. I don't have kids like you or a family of my own, so to speak. But if I were to have them, Canada especially, is not a place I would want to do that.
Right.
And I'm only mid-20s. I don't see prospects of building something, a future, in those countries. Whereas here, it's not clear, but I can see it, and I can believe that if I work hard enough and I push for these goals, I'll get to that point.
Right. It used to be the American dream, right?
Yeah, but I think it's more possible in Russia, as
Mm-hmm.
weird as
Yeah.
that is to say.
And trying to get people back home to understand. See, again, it depends on which demographic of people you talk to. If you talk to the older people at home, they're already established. So I think a lot of them don't see that that's impossible for young people today, especially. You can't save fast enough anymore to get a down payment on a house. It's virtually impossible. I know someone who owns a house in town that owes $700,000 in a mortgage. It's a house in town. There's not even enough room to grow food. $700,000 mortgage on the house, and people don't see that. I mean, even when people I talk here, they think, "Oh, you came from the land of plenty. You guys make so much money per hour," but they don't see the fact that our food is 4 or 5 times as much money. Our bills, your phone
Yeah,
bill here, I think mine is 6 or 7 Canadian dollars a month. I don't know what
yeah,
yours paying.
it's about that. I, I don't know. It's small enough that I don't think about it.
Yeah, and then back home, I spent I think it was $120 Canadian a month for basically the same plan as I have here for 7. So all those things, yeah, you get paid here less, but you can actually save some money from that. And when I talk to people, they don't have massive amounts of debt.
No, debt's really frowned upon here, and it's not like expected. Whereas, like, I think in America, it's sort of expected that you'll have some debts with education and a house and a car.
Mhm.
But people are like, you should not do that. It's a bad idea, which probably comes from the post-Soviet culture. Russians in general, I think, do not like the idea of debt,
Mm,
given their
that's a good
history.
thing. Yeah.
It is.
So
It is.
schooling wise, you're still planning on going?
Still want to. Still trying.
Now, would that be something that you would be indebted for here or not?
No, no. There's a lot of options for foreign education, and it depends how you want to go about it, right? So when I tried to enter veterinary school here, the first year I got here, they said, everything's fine, but the program's in Russian, so you'd have to spend a year learning Russian. I'm like, okay.
Mm.
They're like, why would you pay for that? Just live here for a year or two and learn it, and like get a private tutor. Basically, the school told me their department wouldn't be much better than just living here, which is a weird sort of honesty, I guess.
Yeah.
Uh, the other option would be to go to Moscow and do it in English, but I plan on staying here, so that doesn't really make sense for me. If I was going to do it here, go back and try to profit from that, I would do it in English, but plan to stay here and work here. So, Russian.
There you go. I like that attitude. That's good. That's what I said too. We came here to be Russian, not Canadians living in Russian, right? So that
Yeah,
is our plan long term. If the country will have us to integrate in and be a part of it, so yeah, it's good.
that'll do.
Now, okay, so you covered. Are you owning a house? Are you renting a house?
I rent right now, saving, which is such a weird thing to me. I've never been able to do that before in my life. Like
That's why I wanted to ask you because we're covering that a little bit. So you are able to say what, if you don't mind me
I
asking, what are you renting? How much does it cost?
okay, I can get into that. If I can talk a little bit about before, when I was working in the States, I worked a full-time and a part-time job, right? My full-time job, I was making close to $35 an hour welding pipes, 12 hours a day. And then I would do 4 more hours at night at a school teaching. And that was only about 20 bucks an hour, but it was a nice little extra, piece. Doing car payment, rent, health insurance, and everything else I needed or may have wanted. I didn't really have any savings. Here, I make a salary on average if I work as hard as I can, take every single private student I want, work maybe 10 hours a day, like crazy amount, right? I'd make 120,000 rubles a month. And that's a lot, actually, by Russian standards. My rent's only 20,000 a month. And that
Mm.
utilities, we had 1 month where we used too much electricity, and I think our utilities was 1,500 rubles.
That's
So
peanuts.
yeah, it was because at the time I was doing sambo, which is like Russian martial art for wrestling, and
Okay.
had one outfit for this, so I was doing my laundry every single day, and my girlfriend was just like, "Just buy 2 or 3 more, please, so you're not doing laundry every day." And
Yeah.
bought some more equipment, but yeah, like I said, I'm able to keep a small cash savings, like which is I think the more Russian tradition. My girlfriend and her family have kind of taught me that, like you keep some cash aside in case something happens to the bank. And
Yeah.
then I've been keeping up. I have enough for a car if I wanted it at this point. It's only been 2 years, and I could flat out buy a car.
Wow.
Um, not doing that, saving. I would like to. I don't know. I don't know what I'd like to do with it. I don't know. Like I said, it's weird to me to have.
Once you save it, you can use it for anything, really, right? The
Yeah,
important part is to be able to save and then to commit yourself to saving. So,
yeah. Now that I see it, though, I like don't want to spend it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's good. Good for you. Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
it's definitely more affordable living.
Absolutely. It is a little bit harder to make money. I would say that if you want to make money in Russia, you have to work. Like no one's gonna hand you a job here. You have to want the job. No one's gonna hunt you down to do your work. You have to ask for work, you know. If I sat on my butt, I would have maybe 2 or 3 clients a week and I'd go to the English schools twice a week. I wouldn't have a lot of money. But I ask everyone I can. I do as many clubs as I can. Every club I do, I ask my students if they want private lessons. I badger companies to see if they want to do clubs for their like engineers or their international groups. And I've ended up working for 3 larger corporations here once a week. Like I said, I work for the schools. I have plenty of private clients. It's not what I want to do forever, but it does work if you're just trying to get started here.
Yeah, pays the bills. So you're looking for more work right now? Like, do you have a website or something we could toss down here?
No, I wish. I don't have a website of my own. I'm on VContact. The Russian social media is Taylor Jackson. Um, I don't have a YouTube or anything like that yet. Still, I haven't really thought about that portion of it yet.
Right. Well, your long term goal is not, I guess, really teaching, right? So, like, you're still hoping for veterinarian medicine.
Yeah, I wanted to do that, to work with farmers, to work with farms, hopefully to have a small one of my own.
Yeah.
And I don't think I would stop teaching English, though. I think I would still do it part time.
Mm.
It is at that point, if I had, I was working as a veterinarian, I had my own little plot of land, I would just do it online. I wouldn't go to clubs, but I don't think I'll stop. Even if, God forbid, I move back to the United States or Canada, I would still keep a handful of students online just because I enjoy doing it.
Hmm. Makes sense. Yep. Good. Do you have any regrets about moving?
Sometimes I wish I had managed to save more money before I come, like having a more of an Easter egg would have made things easier. But again, we talked about that. It's kind of difficult to do. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
I tell myself that and then I just forget about it. It's in the past. I can't change the past. Yeah, not really. I don't have a lot of regrets. Maybe bought some veterinary textbooks in English because unfortunately, one of the many bans President Biden has placed on this country includes paper text and books. So it is actually illegal to import a book to Russia. This
Oh, really?
crazy. Yeah, it is. I found that out the interesting way. I tried to send it to Armenia and then to Russia, and the U.S. government blocked it. And it's like, no, you can't do that.
Oh, my. Yeah, that's frustrating.
Yeah,
I never
but
bothered to look into all the little ins and outs, and I had some comments like that too. Why didn't you learn all the Russian laws before coming? Like, are you crazy? That would take years, I imagine. So,
too
uh,
many. Uh, Speaking on Russian laws, the constitution they have is available in English. And I did read that after I had my interaction with immigration and the FSB here, just to understand, like, what are my rights? And I have to say, compared to the US Constitution, the Russian Constitution is extremely straightforward, very simple. Obviously, the language is modern because it's new, but like, it's not difficult to read. You don't read it and then you're like, well, what does this mean? In what situations is this true? You read it and you're like, oh, okay, this is my right.
hmm,
And
I've never
yeah,
read it. I should probably do that.
it's about 2 hours of reading, I'd say. If you read an
Okay.
average 2 hours, you get through the whole thing. And yeah, there's certain parts that obviously don't matter to you, like maybe how the government itself runs, but the personal portion and election portion and how that works, 2 hours max.
I was told I have no rights here. That's another thing that I read in the comments lots. There's no rights. I didn't hear that from this side. I hear that from the other side. That I moved to a land of tyranny with no rights. So you're
Yeah.
saying that's not true?
No. When I was taken into custody for questioning, I had a lot of questions, obviously, and they were taking my property. I'm like, do I have a right to like view my property as it's inspected? Like, or are you going to take it away and I can't see what you're doing? Like, no, you can watch us if you really want to. And obviously they had to check my computer that I brought prior military. They want to make sure I'm not doing anything. And I'm like, okay, can I just give you the password? So you don't have to break into it. Gave them the password. They ran program, checked everything. They're like, okay, you can have this back. You have nothing.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. It actually makes you feel safer if they have all those things, I think. And it might be frustrating at the time or just kind of like challenging to go through, but it makes me feel safer that they're doing the due diligence to make sure nobody bad gets in here.
Yeah, good point. I mean, coming from the US, it is kind of nice to know that like they do check. It's not just anyone's coming in who wants to be here. And if someone is a bad actor, has ill will for no reason, they're just able to get in and do whatever they want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. The border issue is an ongoing problem in the West right now, all across Europe and Canada and the States. States more than Canada, but yeah.
Give it some time.
What is the biggest piece of advice that you would give to others that are considering moving?
Don't wait.
Don't wait.
Don't wait. There's no amount of preparation, amount of savings that will make it any easier. When I was like debating when I should go, I was still like, how to say, I had cold feet, I guess you could say, right? I saw another video YouTuber. I can't remember his channel now. He told his story. He came over here with $200 and managed to make it. Like it was difficult at first, but he just gave up, came over, $200 in his wallet, and made it. This was a long time before the current events, but that was enough of a push for me. Like I have more than $200. I had about $5K in cash. I'm like, okay, let's go. And everything's worked out just fine. Obviously, if you have a nest egg, things will be faster, right? Immigration will be faster. Getting a house will be faster. Making things move will be faster, but there's no point in waiting.
Makes sense. Good advice.
Yeah, I got a funny joke for you. Maybe. Do you know what language they speak in heaven?
No, we always said Dutch, but I don't know.
Russian, because it takes forever to learn.
Oh, there you go. So I have lots of time to practice it when we get there.
Yeah.
You ever consider moving back?
Sometimes. Yeah. Sometimes. Not in the next year. I kind of want to see what unfolds, especially in Canada and the US. And I don't know, there's so much change I would like to see in both the countries that it's difficult for me to want to go back. But I also realize that I can't expect someone else to make those changes for me. Like if I want those changes to happen in the US or Canada especially, I would have to go back and I have to be that voice or be at least one of the voices that's saying, hey, this is not okay. These things need to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can understand that.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel a little about that, just running away from the problem. But at the same time, I don't really know what I can do in either of my countries to fix the problems that I see.
That's a tough one. A lot of people have debated that one.
Well, I mean, if you're arrested for your opinion, it's a little difficult.
Well, that's where it's at, though, right?
Yeah. And it's
a lot of people, a lot of the comments I see about this country are saying all the things that are happening over there, right? I mean, the media in Canada is now censored. When we were traveling in the United States before coming, we traveled for, it was 2 or 3 months or something. We drove through the States. Seen a lot of interesting things. The amount of people I talked to, like yourself, that was working 2 jobs just to try to make ends meet. But also media. There's things and stories that we could read in the States that were not available in Canada, right? Because it's now censored by the government. And I think a lot of people know that because they watch their typical mainstream medias. They would never see those articles anyway. Those of us who were reading them are not available.
Yeah, no, I haven't lived full time in Canada since I was 10. So, I mean, I knew about that, but it's not something I've really experienced. The U.S. censorship, is not nearly as bad as Canada's. Nor would I say the lack of well, Canada doesn't really have freedom of speech the way the U.S. does.
No,
But
no. That's why for us, if Russia wasn't an option, we had considered states. I think there's more, especially individual state rights.
yeah,
Like each state has rights to stand up for itself and its own opinions, versus Canada doesn't really have that, right?
well,
So
Alberta's given it a try. We'll see what
they
happens.
sure are. Yeah, they sure are, and we're hoping for the best. Absolutely. It would be nice to see that continue on. We'll see. We'll see what happens there, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Safety. I think we talked about all these topics a little bit already, but next one on the list is safety here. Do you feel safe here?
Yeah, I feel safe. I can walk anywhere. I am in what is a joke, or what is a common joke amongst the Russians here. I live in Avtozavad, which is like the Detroit of Russia.
Okay.
Within Nizhny, it's the old car factory. It's still a car factory, but some of the industry has slowed down. The joke exists because in the 90s, Avtozavad was a scary place. You didn't go there. Now, I have zero problems. I can walk around anywhere at this city and I'm fine. When I come back from boxing, it's by the time if I choose to walk, I don't take like transport. It's about 1 or 2 in the morning and I'm walking through dark alleys. No problems.
Okay. Would you do that in Detroit?
No, no,
Didn't think so.
no.
No. It's funny. I hear that one a lot from people. I know a guy in Moscow. He walks in the middle of the night too, and I'm like, I can't imagine doing that in Toronto. There's no way I'd walk around. I don't even feel safe there in the middle of the day. Obviously, that depends on where you are. But yeah,
Well, it's funny because I supposedly live in the most dangerous part of the city, but I've never had a problem here with anyone.
right. What
You
about
know,
crime? You see a lot of that?
never seen it. I just haven't, which is weird to think about. Yeah, I have not seen crime. Yeah, in Manchester, hearing gunshots is like normal. You know, um,
Hmm.
my little brother and I would joke about it. That's how normal it was there. He just accepted it. Here, I fireworks. That's it. I've heard fireworks here.
That's actually unusual. They like banging them off all the time here. For us, it was basically Canada Day
Yeah,
celebrations and New Year's. That's it. So,
yeah, that part is weird. At first, I thought it was gunshots, right? And I'm like, no,
yeah,
that doesn't right. It doesn't sound quite the same. And I asked my girlfriend. She's like, no, it's fireworks. I'm like, you guys just do that for fun, like just whenever you want. And yeah,
which is pretty neat. We were in Georgia for New Year's, Tbilisi, Georgia, then not States, Georgia, and same thing. It was one of the greatest fireworks shows I ever seen, and it was put on by private citizens. You got the big apartment blocks, and then in the middle, I mean, they were just firing them all up. Some of them were hitting other people's buildings, and it just kept going and going and going and going. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. You're lucky these things are all
well,
made of stone, and you don't burn anybody's house down. Probably happens, but
yeah, I think maybe if you go to like the dachas or the suburban
mm,
areas, that might have got wooden houses there, especially some of the older ones. But like you said, everything here is made of brick or stone or cement, so
hard to
not
burn
really
down.
an issue.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't. I mean, we've only been here 6 weeks, but I haven't noticed any of that kind of petty crime or anything yet. Obviously, my glimpse of Russia is very small, but I've seen it lots at home. People shopping in Walmart, and you watch them walk right out the door with a bunch of stuff crammed in their pockets. I've seen it so often that you hardly even think about it now, and I have yet to see any of that here, which is
Okay.
interesting because
The
we come
old
from the land of plenty, right? And here, apparently, they're really struggling. You would think you would see that more here.
I don't think it's. I think that boils down to culture.
Hmm.
I don't think they would steal unless things were extremely bad. And that I think is just part of their belief here. Like you don't steal unless you actually need to.
Yeah, to
And
eat for food or something.
yeah, you steal bread. Like you don't steal makeup and random products.
What do I got here? Oh, I like asking this one, the last one. Where do you think, in your opinion, where do you see Russia going the next 5, 10 years? And this would be spiritually, economically, just as a people, as a nation. What are your thoughts?
Those are three interesting, different questions. So if we're talking about as a people, narod, the culture, um, that really depends on the Russians. I think right now they do not have a clearly defined where are we going as a people. You have your older generation, which I think the Americans call like boomers. They're Soviet generation, right? That are like, we need to go back to what we know was good. And then you have, I suppose, people your age and closer to my age that like things the way they are now. Things are not so bad. And then you have the younger generation that a lot of them want change. Like, they don't want to change to the Western culture, which might surprise a lot of people in the West. They don't want that. When I talk to my younger students, 13, 14, 15, they say, absolutely not. Keep that over there.
That's good.
The only thing they don't seem to understand is they don't like that their leaders are so old. Like, that's the only thing I've ever heard the kids complain about. They're like, Putin's fine, but why can't we have younger people in the Duma, both the upper and lower house? Why can't there be a younger president that is more connected with all groups?
Interesting.
So that's, as far as where they're going as a people, I don't know. I think that's going to depend on the Russians themselves. You obviously have Russians leaving, some staying, a lot of foreigners coming now. So it's unclear what will happen. Economically, I think Russia will be fine. Probably a powerhouse in 20 years, in 10 years. Probably they'll be enjoying good times. In 5 years, maybe some difficulty. I don't know. I'm not an economist. I can't say with certainty. But
fair enough. Yep.
My personal prospects, I see things in 5 years going well. I mean, not perfect, but well. In 10 years, I think life will be pretty good, comfortable. And in 20 years, I think things will be peachy. Nothing to complain about.
So all of it, you're thinking, is still going up?
Yeah. In regards to international trade, obviously there's some issues, but that's because of sanctions, which oddly enough kind of helped Russia a bit.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of friendlier nations now. I can't get, if we go back to the grocery stores, there's more fruit here than I've ever seen in an American grocery store. Fruits I didn't even know. I'm like, what is this? Yeah, and those
Good
are coming.
Quality too. Great quality.
Absolutely, great quality. So let's see, economically, culturally, spiritually, that one's confusing. There is a small growth of the Protestant culture here, which is interesting. I don't know how that will turn out. I'm not a member of that. I think there is a strong, and I can't say growing or shrinking, but constant presence of Russian Orthodoxy, which is obviously the predominant religion here. There's also in Islam, so that's a contender, which could have a huge impact on the country in every aspect. All right.
Yep.
You have some republics, which is another strange concept, similar to the states, that have more rights than other regions per se. If you go to, I don't know, Chechnya, for example, they're an Islamic republic. They have some rules that are specific to their region because they're predominantly Muslim. I think the closest republic to us, which is southeast, is Mordovia. They have their own language there, because they're Mordovian. They don't call themselves, they're a part of Russia, but they don't see themselves as Russian. And that's fine.
Interesting.
Yeah. And you have, I think, 41 or 42 republics like that they have their own cultures, their own languages, their own religion. So spiritually, I don't know.
Well, that's a fair assessment. I appreciate that. I'm told that they're planting. I hate saying the wrong numbers, but I think it was 3 churches a day or something. Now that's not just Orthodox. I believe that would be Protestant and Orthodox, but I could be wrong there again as well. I should look those numbers up and have my facts a bit straighter. But it does seem like all of it's on the rise. Now, to what level? I don't know. How much of it comes from the heart and how much of it doesn't, I don't know. Everybody has to decide that for themselves, I guess. But it does seem like it's going in the right direction spiritually. At least it's free anyway. And that's where, like you said about Islam and Protestants and Orthodox here, they all seem to coexist peacefully. And I think that's a healthy sign as well.
Yeah, we even have Jewish people here as well. There's a synagogue in Nizhny. So, yeah, it's like you said. I think religion in general is growing in Russia. I can't say which one is clear, but people with religion and conservative values is a growing trend in Russia.
Right.
The church I go to, which is Russian Orthodox, because I converted here and was baptized here, a lot of young people, which I will say contrasts with going to a Protestant church in America. There's predominantly older people and not a lot of kids, unless their parents made them, which, I don't know, is an interesting contrast to see that the younger generation is taking an interest without being pushed.
That's important. It's vital. And I would agree, majority, at least of the mainstream churches in the West that I've been to, like we've church shopped. We just go. I mean, somebody invites us, you go, you take a look. And a lot of them that we've seen, indeed, it's a bunch of senior citizens, and that's all that's left. And that's not a healthy sign because, I mean, naturally, obviously, 5-10 years, there's no one there.
Yeah.
Right. But there are some, I have been to lots where there's an enormous amount of children. So they're just not the mainstream ones. I'm not going to mention any names, but there are churches that are packed full of young people as well. It's a bit of both, but it's important in any church. It doesn't matter where you're going. If there's no youth, then it's over.
Yeah.
There's no future. Yeah. Interesting. And economically, I think those two tie together, and that you could do a whole segment on that, I think, but they tie together, in my opinion. Without God, nothing, if you don't put God in his place and in the right spot, then it all crumbles. And personally, that's what I think we see in the West right now. They have abandoned God years ago already, and it continues to happen. And now you see the results of that. Everything's crumbling and falling apart. And to us, again, it seems, this is my opinion, but it seems like Russia is embracing spirituality more and therefore also reaping the rewards. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but.
Oh, I wholeheartedly agree. Again, it's a whole nother video subject we can do. But coming from a non-religious or an even atheist background, right? I was not religious. I did not believe in God. I did not believe in. No, absolutely not. I was quite the opposite, actually, for a long period of time. And,
I'm definitely going to talk to you about that sometime. So interesting.
Yeah, quite the opposite. I have quite a background in that. And yeah, I had a few moments in my life that made me think, am I doing the right thing? Am I making the right choices? And it was kind of at that point when I asked that I had a family member reach out to me and kind of like try to pull me on the right side. And I said, all right, I'm going to give it a try. And from the point that I opened my heart to Jesus Christ and to God, my life just dramatically improved.
Awesome.
Yeah. So
that makes a big difference in life. Yeah,
it does. Absolutely. So like you said, without faith in something, at least, but without faith in God, I think the country is doomed.
Yep. It's the one thing that keeps, it's the rock, right? It's solid. It's necessary for sure. Awesome. We covered lots of stuff. That's good. And I think we could talk about lots more stuff sometime. I definitely want to talk, maybe off camera sometime. I'll talk to you. I'd love to hear the story of the faith there. That's always fascinates me, where people travel from, where they came from, where they are now. The journey, I guess.
Yeah.
Good. So you have no website. We can't throw you a plug for anything.
No advertising.
You said they could find you on Telegram, though, right?
You can find me on Telegram. Yeah. I think my Telegram is my name. So Taylor Jackson, if you're trying to find me on there. VKontakte, if you're on the Russian social media, also Taylor Jackson.
Okay. So if anybody needs some English studies, you're the guy.
Yeah, I'll be happy.
Or if somebody wants to help you out with your veterinarian plans, maybe they can help you out too.
That would be amazing. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for talking to us. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
I don't think we were too tough on you. So
I hope not.
Awesome. Hey, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Catch you later.
Bye. Catch you later.